Check, check. We're live.
Yeah, we are live.
Nice. Let's get started. Once upon a time, this land built as an unbreachable fortress, a kingdom built on relentless spirit, where no visiting force could conquer. The crowds roared like an army. Every pit was a battleground, and India dominated. But now, under a new king's reign, the walls have fallen, and New Zealand have stormed through, leaving behind the echoes of what once was. The empire has crumbled, and the fortress has been breached. India have been whitewashed at home, and it's probably the lowest point in Indian cricket, at least when it comes to tests. I am Sachit Prasanna. I have with me Sumo Kannan, who is eating food because at this point we really don't care about how low we've gotten in terms of Indian cricket. And we are Big Brain Cricket. We're doing another podcast episode after what seems like ages. And we're here to rant our asses off about the Indian cricket team.
Yeah, it's November. So we are here to give you a reminder that it's November and we are just 2 weeks away from a disaster class. And just when we thought this November could have been much better, it couldn't get any worse. We lost a home series. We not only lost but got whitewashed.
Insane.
Lowest of lows.
I mean, we came into this series like as a pre-series hope was that mindset of hey all these pan masala series bro idella easy whitewash on New Zealand because that's what has happened over the years, right? Whenever New Zealand has come inside India, it's always been a proper rod, and they go back after getting destroyed by us, at least inside India. And this time they were coming in after getting a proper rod from Sri Lanka also. 602 for 5 is what Sri Lanka scored against them. After which they got New Zealand all out for 88, enforced follow on, got them all out for 360 and won by an innings. So you would expect a side like that to come here and lose, especially given that they don't have someone like Kane Williamson in their squad anymore. As for the series.
Anyways, New Zealand came and gave us surprise.
Surprise.
You guys can't play spin. You guys can't even bowl spin.
Oh, it's such a sad little sight to see. And, I personally thought that Pakistan dropping Babar and winning against England would have been the biggest shock of surprise for us. But that shock has been surpassed because little did we know that Gigi, Rohit, and the rest of our squad could pull off something as brilliant as this.
The build up to the tournament was India will book that final spot and the tickets to London after the series, meaning 3-0 win against New Zealand would confirm a spot for India in the WTC finals. But
Exactly.
here we are, allowing New Zealand, Sri Lanka, and South Africa a chance to beat the Aussies at Lords in June.
Yeah, because if we had beaten New Zealand 3-0, that would have almost solidified an India versus Australia or South Africa finals. But now that we've gotten cooked, we have, as RCB fans, it makes us happy though. There are now new possible calculations, permutations, combinations, call it what you will. It's the door is wide open for us once again.
I think it's around the same time those IIT JEE exams take place that Indian cricket team is preparing the kids mathematically for those exams. So this is much better than what RCB was preparing us for all these years. As our captain says, 12 साल में एक बारी हारना allowed है.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, bad Hindi for us.
That Hindi, yeah.
Yeah, 12 साल में एक बार allowed है is something that we will discuss at some point during this podcast. Don't worry, we'll not forget those lines for ages. So, I mean,
Those are
let's
gone
look
in
at
my
this.
sleep, so
Let's
I'll
look
have
at
a
this in chronological order. Let's start from the first test. As Bangalore kids ourselves, we managed to make it to the stadium for this test. And something that we noticed as someone who is not a cricket expert, the least we were able to predict is, you know what, look at the clouds, it's raining. If we win the toss, we should bowl first. And Rohit Sharma won the toss. It's rained throughout day one. It's day two. It's a fresh day. The clouds are hanging low. They're dark gray in color, and all of us are sitting at home. We're getting ready to go to the stadium. We put across our leaves at workplaces saying that we're sick, we've got personal reasons, grandparents are no more, all reasons.
Hopefully, they don't watch this live.
Yeah, hopefully. And suddenly Rohit Sharma says he's batting first. And everybody, every sane cricket fan who knows how a red ball behaves under cloudy conditions is baffled. And Suman was one of them.
Well, it came as a shocker. Uh, but we saw a few pundits say it's a brave decision by Rohit Sharma to bat first. And I think they were fancying their chances of how they would look if they played the WTC finals. But I think they have played their finals in Bangalore itself.
Clearly. Since we're speaking about the WTC finals, it actually gave me flashbacks of what happened in 2021. Because whenever India batted, the clouds were hanging low, the ball was swinging around, doing everything it could to, dismantle those stumps. And suddenly, magically, when New Zealand walked into bat, it's the opposite. It's a bright blue sky. Everything looks fresh and sunny and beautiful. It's like paradise for them to bat on, especially on the Chinnaswamy track, which is probably one of the reasons why we were scheduled for 46 and they scored 400 in their first innings. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the 46 all out. So
What just happened in that 46?
I don't know because before we could process it, it was over.
But the good thing is we managed to stay past the session. I think that's better compared to 36 all out in Adelaide.
Valid, but does it also bring down our brownie points? Because 36 all out in Adelaide was away from home. 46 happened in Chinnaswamy, where India, as far as I know, have never lost a test match in Chinnaswamy. And it's happening at home. You don't expect to lose at home in the first place. So there are pros and cons of both the 36 and the 46, but when you put them side by side, they are both absolute epitomes in Indian cricket history.
Well, we had one such in the overseas conditions, and we need to have the home record as well, right?
Valid, absolutely. So William O'Rourke, Matt Henry, as good as they were, I think they were really complimented by the New Zealand fielding. Couldn't even score 49. Lol. They were
I think we
complimented by
need to talk about William O'Rourke more
yeah.
than the test match. I think he looks very good. I think he can be a potential RCB candidate because he's very good looking. Or probably he is suitable for some Marvel movie.
Kyle Jamieson replacement.
Yeah, he's very tall and handsome. Yeah.
Hmm. Very valid. But yeah, it's come down to a state where we ourselves have no clue what's happening in terms of our batting. The New Zealand fielding really did complement everything. It's okay to have Whitewashed once in 90 years, yeah, absolutely. But it's happened twice in 24 years. The Mumbai Lions is very proud to know that the first one to do it was Tendulkar 24 years ago, and then the next one to do it was Rohit Sharma 24 years later.
Oh, that was against South Africa, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, we were scheduled for 46. We thought there's hope because, I only believe in Jesse by game changer player is just Bumrah. But unfortunately, Rachin Ravindra and Devin Conway ensured that two CSK bloods come and prevail in Chinnaswamy once again.
Well, if we take everything, Kohli is the centerpiece of all these three epic milestones 36, 46, and 49. He's the only epicenter of this milestone.
Valid, yeah. Actually, yeah, now that you look at it that way. If you look at it from the IPL perspective, Kohli is born in Delhi, speaks Punjabi, and plays for Bangalore. And the three
Kohli
teams that have
Trinity, yeah.
Delhi, Punjab, Bangalore. So Kohli is the center of all losses at this point. As much as a clutch player he has been, we'll get to their performances soon. But second innings actually did give us some hope. Rohit, Kohli,
Well,
Pant,
before we go to the second innings,
yeah.
the toss was done and India made the decision to bat first. Could India have batted any better, or was this the only choice they had?
Look, as far as I know, maybe they could have scored 100. Okay, if a certain few chances were not taken that brilliantly by the New Zealand fielders, we could have gotten to maybe 100, 120. But in conditions like that, I really don't expect them to go beyond that. And you could see them struggling. Even if you put aside the wicket-taking deliveries, almost every ball was beating the batter from Southee, from Henry, from O'Rourke. It doesn't matter. They did not bowl a single over of spin in that first session because they
In
knew.
fact, they didn't bowl until
Yeah,
India bowled out.
yeah, correct. They didn't bowl spin at all until maybe the end. I think they bowled like one over of Ajaz at some point
Hmm.
in the first innings for us.
I
But
think it's
yeah,
ironic how only three pace bowlers were used in the first innings,
yeah,
and in the last innings of the final test, only three spin bowlers were used. And apart from Matt Henry, of course,
yeah.
uh, Rohit Sharma being the only joker who gave wicket to a fast bowler on the
We'll
turning
get to
track.
that also. Oh my God, there are so many things that we need to discuss.
But
But
I think we
let's
need to
put it
mention
in
this
order.
regarding the first innings. New
Yeah,
Zealand's fielding was the differentiator from 120 to that 46 that you're talking about.
absolutely. Yes. So the catch that Phillips took of Kohli, the dismissal, the two catches that Ajaz Patel took, and the running catch that Matt Henry took right in front of our eyes from where we were standing in the stadium. It
And Glenn
was.
Phillips, of course.
Yeah, Glenn Phillips, of course. Yes, that man. If not the catches, he was a live wire on the field, and watching that stuff live was scary because I don't know, the way he runs at the ball is almost predatorial in some manners. But that happened, and then the second innings finally pulled up with a decent show of batting, and in my opinion, that was the only good show of batting that we had throughout the series. And
Definitely.
that happened when we had a decent amount of sunlight, not too much, still a decent bit of cloud cover, but Rohit got 50. Kohli got a 70, which saw him getting dismissed on the last ball of the day. Sarfraz got a really good 150. Pant got a 99. Hurts, another one of those 90s per punts.
Yeah. I think Pant has more 90s than hundreds at this point of his career.
It is true. I think he has 7 or 8 90s at this stage.
Easily, easily.
Yeah,
Let's just talk about how India collapsed in the second innings.
yeah.
It was not New Zealand's brilliant bowling. It was that
It was
six.
the Talakers. It was the Talakers.
Yeah. It was the one that went past the roof of Chinnaswamy and that made umpires change the ball again. How many times have we seen this?
Twice,
Did
but
you
it's a lot. If I had a nickel for every time this has happened live while I was in the stadium, I would have two nickels, which is not a lot, but it's
same?
weird that this happened twice.
And both the times, the batting team lost.
The batting team lost, exactly.
Moral of the
And
story, don't hit the ball out of Chinnaswamy Stadium.
yeah, unless it's risky.
Yeah. But the
So,
context here is New Zealand got a new ball. It was
yes,
6 to 7 hours old or so,
yes.
and Pant whacked one on the mid wicket to Saudi,
Yes.
and that made the umpires change the ball.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened to the ball, but
It's a
it
fair
started to do its magic, and India collapsed as expected.
as expected. But despite all of this, a really big shout out to the Chinnaswamy crowd. There was as our audience says, there is a top order collapse, there is a middle order collapse, there is a lower order collapse. The entire game was a collapse in general. But
Everything
despite
collapsed
the
except
46
the
in the
fans
first innings, yeah,
who stood strong till the last ball was bowled.
yeah. Despite the 46 all out, there will be a shout out to the Chinnaswamy crowd because they did not think too much about the loss. They were still supporting the team left and right throughout the game, pulled up in big numbers, irrespective of whether we were bowling, batting, winning, or losing. The Mexican waves all over the park, and it was just pure adrenaline and the kind of chants, the shouts, the cheers. And hats off to the Chinnaswamy groundsmen as well, as we saw.
Yeah, massive shout out to the ground staff. There was a lot of doubt regarding the match will happen or not, but every time the rain stopped, the ground was ready within 45 to 60 minutes. It's
Yeah.
because of the subway system. There was no much work for the ground staff. We saw what happened in Kanpur test, right? With
Yes. Yeah.
Bangladesh, like how the outfield was wet, drenched,
Yes.
and that was not the case despite having heavy rains here, continuous heavy rains.
Yeah, and you have to tip your hat to those guys because on some occasions when the rains were pretty heavy, but did not seem like they would last too long. The groundsmen have a decent understanding and an idea of how long the rains might last. We saw those guys pull the covers onto the field and stand on the field in the rain, waiting for the rain to move out. And there were a few RCB chants because the groundsman was carrying an RCB umbrella with him. So
Of course,
I think
we are
that's what
everywhere.
it's about.
Anyways, it was just one match. We moved to Pune.
We moved to Pune. We're ready to bring the series back, win the series 2-1, and move on to Australia. BGT, wrap it up with
Yeah,
2 wins against Australia, and
we
we're,
have
we're
lost the first match of the
easy.
series a lot of times, and we have won the other games. Easy
Yeah,
peasy.
sounds
Cakewalk.
easy. Or so we thought.
But what
The
just
second,
continued in Pune was a disaster class
indeed,
that
and
just outright showed us that we
first
can't
test gave us flashbacks of WTC 2021. The second test gave us flashbacks of Border Gavaskar Trophy 2017 in Pune.
except that this was the second test and not the first test.
Indeed. So we're entering a pitch that we lost on before versus Australia. And the progression of the first innings of both teams was actually very similar. But before we get to that, there was a minor change made to the squad where Washington Sundar was added out of the blue, irrespective of the presence of Kuldeep Yadav, Akshar Patel in the squad. They somehow thought, okay, you know what? Let's forget about our existing spin battalion. Let's add another one out of nowhere, which turned out to be a good move. But at the end of the day, it's going to put doubts in the heads of the players who are already present as primary members of the squad.
We don't have answer for these kind of changes.
Just happens. And if it
Only
works,
we can answer
if
it. Like
it
what
doesn't
was
work,
going on in his mind.
poor decisions by the management, and that's an everlasting issue
Okay,
with.
it's all fine. So they are preparing a rank turner in Chennai, as expected. You're getting Washington Sundar, that's planned. But why do you bench Siraj and make a change for Akash Deep when you give him just 4 overs with the ball? Instead, you could have played Kuldeep Yadav over there.
You
That
could
would
have played,
have
you
been
could have played
massive.
Akshar Patel. You would have strengthened your batting. There were so many ways to go about it.
Indeed, it's very difficult. I have practiced enough how to pronounce the city for the last 30 minutes so that I don't fumble in the live. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's look at the progression of the innings. Um, if you look at how it progressed for Australia and India in 2017, um, Aussie scored 260 and we scored 107 in the first in our respective first innings.
Yes.
It was very similar. New Zealand scored 259 and we were slated for 140 odd, and the innings progressed in a very similar fashion. But after this point, we saw demons in the pitch. We saw the kind of roughness, the cracks, the grip, the turn, the bounce, everything made it look like it was impossible to bat on the pitch. And then somehow New Zealand scored 255 in their innings, in their second innings.
Not to
That
forget the sand explosions.
did.
It was like batting in a desert.
Yeah. And as much as our own batting was the problem, I think the bowling was worse than it looked like in the game. Just because Washington Sundar picks up 7 wickets doesn't mean it's impactful in the game. Because letting New Zealand score 255 in their second innings is unacceptable after you've given them a 103 lead. It's I'll tell you why it's unacceptable. It's not completely on the bad bowling. It also has to do with the kind of field sets that you put in for that bowling. Because it's 2.5 overs into the match. You haven't used fast bowlers from both ends. You've gone directly to your spinners. And that's understandable because of the kind of pitch, the kind of surface it was. But if you've gone directly to your spinners and you know that there's turn, there's bounce, there's grip, and the batsmen are defending, why would you have one slip, one short leg, and five fielders at the boundary?
Also, the short leg is not at short leg, he's at least 5 kilometers away from the short leg position.
Yeah, he's more
And
of
it's
a
also taking 5 minutes of reaction time to react to the ball.
yeah,
And I think there was a requirement for a backup for a short leg because there was so many misfields in the
indeed.
short leg region. It was like highly unacceptable field placements by Rohit.
Exactly. So you had a short leg and you were also compensating for your substandard short leg with a square leg, which made no sense.
Yeah, even after dropping so many catches and realizing the fielding is so bad, that didn't improve any better in the third test match as well. The field placements were same. There were no attacking field sets. Catches kept on fumbling. New
Yeah.
Zealand kept on scoring runs.
And it's,
The
it's something
storyline
that
was
was
over.
addressed by Shruti in the audience as well. It is the kind of fielding that was displayed at slips. Now, we had, for the entirety of all three games, we had Rohit Sharma fielding at first slip, and we had Sarfraz Khan fielding at short leg. Now, I know that Rohit Sharma himself put down around 7 to 8 catches, and at least I'd say maybe three of them were very difficult chances, but the remaining are things that you should be taking at first flip. At least, you know, 75 to 80% of the time.
I mean, like you can't just stand on the slips and say it's are those difficult chances.
Yeah,
Standing on the slip is a difficult position, and those half chances that you convert will be the game changers. If you can't
exactly.
pull 1 out of 5 half chances, then you're not fit to stand on the slips.
Exactly. And it's more baffling because you have fielders like Kohli, Jaiswal, Gill, who have all excelled in the slip quadrant. And for some reason, you play none of them. It makes no sense. And yeah, let's talk about Sarfraz Khan as well. The issue with placing your two fielders who have substandard fitness um, is that their reaction time is going to be slower. The way they move towards the ball is going to be slower, and the closer you place them to the batter, the worse it's going to get. And there was actually an analysis done by Dinesh Karthik during commentary. The distance of Sarfaraz Khan standing at short leg from the batter was close to 4 meters. While generally your regulatory short leg would have a distance of maybe 3 meters. So you're putting a distance of 1 extra meter between them so that you could improve on his reaction time. But by doing so, the ball is falling short of your short leg, which is not the whole, it's in the name. It's called short leg for a reason. It's supposed to be short distance.
It was very
But yes,
fun.
I agree.
Fluid
Daryl
ball.
Mitchell's fielding was Glenn Phillips at the boundary line, Daryl Mitchell at slips, Will Young as well, Matt Henry every now and then, aside from those few drops in the final test. Top quality fielding from New Zealand, of course.
Yeah. And let's talk about the run out, the controversial run out that's been going around the town.
Yeah.
Whose fault was the run out? Let's make it clear.
I'm going to tell you with no hesitation that it was Rishabh Pant's call. He was running to the danger end. It was his call to make. It was Kohli's duty to respond to that call as a running partner. And Pant's run out was completely on himself, as was Kohli's run out later on in the third test. Both
Yeah.
their own faults and both their own mistakes.
Yeah,
So
it's a very basic thing.
the New Zealand fielders, and they paid the price for that.
Whenever the batsman hits towards the fine leg or third man region, anything towards the back is the
Yeah.
non-striker call. Anything on the
Yes.
front is the striker
Right.
call.
Yeah.
It's such a
Behind
basic thing.
square is non-strikers call, front of square is strikers call. The only place where there you would have a little bit of confusion is probably if you play it to, a slightly a covers or a cover point region is when there's going to be a confusion. But still, at this level, you can't afford things like that. Latham,
Yeah.
yes, Latham, absolutely. Brilliant
Kudos
captaincy.
to Tom Latham on achieving the impossible in Indian soil. His name will be etched on the walls of India for many, many years to come. Top quality stuff from Tom Latham. Let's
Yeah,
also not forget his important 80 runs that he scored in the second innings.
absolutely. And coming towards the end of this test, after we got absolutely obliterated by Santner left and right, we sat down to watch a press conference by Rohit Sharma. And I think this is what the audience is here for today.
Yeah,
This statement, 3 goals, 12 साल में एक बार तो चलता है.
एक बार तो चलता है. I
And
studied so hard for until my 11th grade, 11 long years. I need a break.
yeah,
I'm allowed to fail in 12th.
yeah. Appa, I failed my 12th grade exam. Oh, I failed 2 subjects,
Bad
so
contradicting.
it's going to hinder my qualification towards higher studies. But 12 साल में एक बार चलता है. I really don't get the kind of statements that he made because the absolute sheer downgrade from 20 wicket निकालना है, बाढ़ में जाए pitch, which Ravi Shastri had stated long ago. That para is now in absolute shreds. And you need to look at it from a perspective of Gautam Gambhir as well, because after that Border Gavaskar Trophy win, Gautam Gambhir said, "What has Ravi Shastri achieved in his career?" Just because Shastri said that this was the best Indian team to tour overseas. Now he's getting karma, I guess. I don't know. Is that the right
Yeah,
way
I
to
think
play?
he's right. I think Gautam Gambhir is right. The sad thing is like India being the favorites, not just at home, but New Zealand defeated a mighty strong Indian side.
Yeah,
I won't say strong from the batting perspective at home. For the last 4 5 years, the pitches have been rigged.
yeah,
So even if you score 200, it's a winning score in India. So
absolutely. In the
it
fourth
is
innings,
always
it's
the bowlers turning up in home conditions to win you
yeah,
test matches. But we also saw a statement from Ravindra Jadeja say that he feared a series loss coming his way and he always imagined himself retiring from Indian cricket with a winning streak at home. It
yeah,
just says how much it meant for not just Jadeja, For the people who
People who
know,
built that legacy, that fortress,
it might be Kohli, Rahane,
Pujara,
Pujara, Jadeja,
Ashwin.
Ashwin. So it just says how much it meant for them, what they built, and now it's gone.
Yeah, it's
A
gone. And
certain someone who revoked his test career after 2019 comes up to say, 12 साल में एक बार तो चलता है.
yeah, and honestly, that did not go well with the fans. The only person it went well with was freaking Sanjay Manjrekar, and somehow he's yeah, exactly. PR team did train him before the press conference. And
It's
you
okay.
look at
We can change a few words here and there while we post those things on social media. It's okay,
of
chalta hai.
course, yeah. No, but you look at this test, and it was very clear, very evident that out of the 20 wickets that the Indian batters had lost in this test, 19 of them fell to spin and one Rohit Sharma wicket fell to Tim Southee in his classic, that Tim Southee fashion. But if you lost 19 wickets to spin, would you be going into the next test thinking, okay, I need to prepare a track where our spinners and their spinners have a proper differentiation between each other? Or would you say, I will prepare a rank turner where Ashwin will be able to spin the ball the same amount as Glenn Phillips?
This is the problem about rigging wickets. Rigging wickets is fine. Like ever since the World Test Championship started, all the home conditions are rigged to give a
Yeah.
fair advantage to the home side, which is
Yes,
fair.
absolutely.
But rigging it to an extent that it's a rank turner where day two wicket looks like a day five wicket, that just makes Glenn Phillips look as legendary as Anil Kumble or R. Ashwin.
Exactly. The kind of grip, the
That is
kind
one
of
of
turn
the
that
more reasons why
mediocre
Washington
spinners
Sundar
extract.
is also looking legendary
Yes.
over here. Like people are thinking it's his comeback just before Border Gavaskar Trophy. He got a 7 first, so that will seal his spot in Border Gavaskar Trophy. Mark this, he will get hammered in Perth.
For all you know, he's not even going to play in the BGT. Okay, he's not going to be in the playing 11 because you will be playing three paces there. There's no point worrying about Washington Sundar's performances against New Zealand for pitches that are going to be produced in Australia. But the kind of pitches that you're making in Mumbai, the kind of rank turners that you're preparing, will reduce the skill margin between a good spinner and a mediocre spinner. And the Indian team has good spinners, and New Zealand probably walked in with one mainstream spinner, which Tom Latham said like outright at the toss. He said, "We've gone in with one spinners, and we walked in with one spinner, and we have two all rounders who can also bowl spin. Who can also bowl spin does not make you a good spinner. But since you've offered tracks like this, everyone is equally good as a spinner. That's all. Simple.
Rachin, being a proper spin bowling all rounder, didn't get much with the ball.
Yeah,
So they just got their job done with very limited resources, even though they had a lot of options. We
they
never
had
saw
options.
Darren Mitchell bowl in the series.
Indeed, yeah. Daryl Mitchell didn't bowl in the series. Rachin barely bowled a few overs. They did not have Ken Williamson. Trent Bolt is gone. So they're in with a young fast bowler in William O'Rourke, who has somehow really pulled up for them in different conditions. He's shown adaptability. And I just like the character that New Zealand showed throughout the series for sure. And there was a tweet that I put out when there was news that Mumbai was preparing this rank turner, and I said, if New Zealand wins the toss here, we are cooked. And that's what happened, right?
Yeah, we have always been unlucky with rigging wickets and rigging tosses. We never managed to rig the tosses.
Yeah. So putting New Zealand ahead in two out of the three games in terms of the toss, and one game where you chose to bat first, which was the wrong call in the first place, automatically gives them head starts in all three of those games. As it was in this case, where They chose to bat first. They could put up a decent batting show on during the first innings and pull up with something very similar during the second innings. And there is an age-old statistic that 163 is the highest chase in the Wankhede Stadium during the fourth innings of a Test match. With that statistic available to normal, mediocre people like us, why would they go in with a 50-50 chance of winning, where your chance of chasing down something in the fourth innings is completely toss dependent?
As Rohit Sharma said in the post-match conference, we had certain plans that we weren't able to execute. Yeah, that's what you can tell after you lose a match. If
Yeah, I
we win,
mean,
our plans were right.
yeah, that's been the age old statement. If you win,
Yeah,
your plans are good. If you lose, your plans are not good. You
yeah.
can
I
bring up
think Rohit
scenarios.
Sharma watched Mr. Naik's press conference before going to talk with Harsha Bhog.
ಗೆದ್ರೆ credit ನಮ್ಗೆ.
Gedre, all credits, Nange. All losses are not on me.
Our responsibility. Very simple. But yeah, let's also talk about some of those bizarre runouts that we saw.
I think it's the problem with MRF bats.
Marif bat, indeed. Kohli walked in with the same bat. Akashdeep walked in with the same bat, and somehow their dismissals were very similar in fashion. So I do not
Even in the
recommend
second inning.
Alex for long innings and sheer comfort.
I think Kohli is taking up a spot on that Indian team bus. It could be one person less so that the bus can give a better mileage. And Kohli can run from stadium to the hotel. Why?
Which actually brings the question: do you think Kohli is finished?
I think his test cricket is done.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think there's going to be a comeback in the Border Gavaskar Trophy?
So if there is anything left,
Hmm.
it's Aussies who can bring the best out of him.
Absolutely.
So if there is anything left in Test cricket, it has to be Border Gavaskar Trophy, or else he's done in Test. The wickets won't get any better from here with World Test
Oh,
Championship around.
yeah.
It will be ranked turners, unless of course he wants to improve his spin game and change his technique. I don't think he needs to change much with his technique, but if he manages to do all those homework and come back and play spin well, I think he's done.
All
I
right.
don't think
And
India will be
how
looking into Rohit or Virat after this
hmm,
cycle.
the cycle? Okay.
To book his spot for next cycle, he really needs to put a performance. Like he needs another test peak.
Absolutely. So that also brings about the question of the intent saga.
Yeah,
What do you think about it?
I didn't see what any kind of intent with a batsman. They were brain faded. What
Yeah.
was the dismissal
Look,
from?
you've gone ahead and beaten the crap out of Bangladeshi bowlers in Kanpur, and somehow you've gone and glorified that as one of your greatest home test wins in history. It's Bangladesh, bro. They will lose by themselves even if you don't do anything. And you can't expect a team like New Zealand to come in and play the same way. I don't see this whole intent glorification because that is something that needs to be addressed. It's the same concept as baseball. It's going to work on flat tracks.
Yeah,
It's going to work against weak oppositions. It's going to work against poor bowling like Pakistan and Bangladesh because that's where baseball has excelled in the past. And I don't see a reason to glorify it like that, especially when you don't have an anchor batter like the Dravids, the Pujaras, the Hanuma Viharis that we've seen in the past. So when you don't have one person holding it down from one end, you cannot have the rest of the team, beating the crap out of the bowlers for every opposition.
yeah. You're
And that,
spot
that
on
was
with this
something
point.
like
Yeah.
for us to
You
see.
need someone who can hold the fort from one side while the other one can be the aggressor. But the whole concept of baseball works only on flatter decks. So ever since Brendan McCallum took over and he introduced the baseball approach, you no longer see the grassy tops, typical grassy wickets in England conditions,
Yeah.
because it's very evident that their batsmen lack the skill set of playing
Yeah.
swinging conditions. That's one of the reasons why even Jimmy Anderson couldn't go past Shane Warne.
Indeed. Yeah. When there's no grass left, Jimmy completely became a different bowler. But yeah, I mean, it was very evident in our case, our batting really didn't step up, as did our bowling and field sets, but it's just not the same. Yeah, you do. Like the batters do lack the skill set to play bowling like this on rank turners, and that was evident with Ajaz Patel. He's played two tests in Wankhede Stadium, and he has 25 wickets in those two tests.
It must be a joke. But
Yeah,
why
one
why
player,
is the
25
lack of
wickets.
skill set? If you look into the domestic side of things with BCCI, they give grassy wickets with some amount of moisture that will make bowlers like Mukesh Kumar look like Glenn McGraw. So
Yes,
anything you
and it's
bowl,
also one of the reasons why players like Sarfaraz go on to score hundreds, 200s, 300s on
yeah,
pitches like
decks
that.
are a lot flatter with grassy top, which gives you perfect amount of bounce to play well. So
Exactly.
domestic cricket has lost the traditional approach of playing spinning conditions in the southern region, at least. There used to be
Yes.
spinning tracks when you visit Hyderabad or Bangalore or Chennai, and there used to be
Yeah.
seaming decks when you visit Kolkata or Delhi. But now,
Yes.
all around India, it's one kind of a deck.
Yeah.
So,
And
what
it
India
has
has
been
done is to,
one-dimensional, and that is one of the reasons why this whole concept of Rohit Virat should go back to domestic cricket is something that has bothered me. There was a stat that came out saying Kohli played his last Ranji game in 2012 and Sachin played it in 2013. You look at it from a perspective of what was Kohli doing during the Ranji season, because every year he has been on international duty during a Ranji season, and there is you can't blame the IPL for that because when IPL is going on, there's no Ranji going on.
definitely.
So
So
yeah,
there was also no T20 format when Sachin was playing. So
exactly,
he used that time to play domestic season. But
exactly.
during the tenure of Kohli, there are three formats which are going in full swing
Plus the
all
IPL.
around the year, all around the globe.
Yeah, so
So,
it is a yeah,
and if you're giving certain type of decks in domestic cricket, there is no point of Kohli going back and playing Ranji and coming back to the Indian side. We have seen what
absolutely.
Ishan Kishan or Cheteshwar Pujara is doing in the domestic side. If you give such decks,
Yeah.
they will score loads and loads of runs.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I am skeptical about all these comments on Twitter saying bring Pujara back. For all you know, he might perform, but are you willing to go back to the same player? Are you like willing to disregard all the failures that he had, which caused him to get dropped in the first place? Just because he has played a few of those innings against mediocre-looking sides on flatter pitches in the Ranji
Or even
tournaments
in the
on
T20.
party cricket pitches. Yeah,
I think
is
India
it?
is looking past Cheteshwar Pujara at this point, but recently I came across a video of Pujara where I saw his technique being changed. He has a similar stance like KL Rahul, which he had back in 2020 or 2022. So higher back lift, he had that higher back lift. So despite scoring loads and loads of runs, I don't think the selectors will be looking for
Yeah, because
Cheteshwar
when
Pujara.
you have a higher backlift, your defense is compromised, and that just brings Pujara back to the same concept that we've discussed before. He's not going to play like an anchor player anymore, and that's not what we're looking for.
Yes. One thing that's changed from Pujara since he got dropped is his strike rate has nearly doubled.
Exactly. And speaking of KL Rahul, he's been dropped. He's been dropped for Sarfaraz Khan, and that is something that I'm actually bothered by because KL has been our most consistent performer in overseas conditions. So I have, there's always that bad feeling in the back of your head that what if you go to Australia with a bunch of players who have not been tried and tested in those conditions, specifically Sarfaraz Khan, and you're putting him as a priority ahead of KL Rahul in those conditions where he might turn out to be a liability, especially with the WTC on the line, because we'll discuss the calculations right after this.
Yeah. So Joanna Peter says, "You're not going to play anything." Yes, dear, we are not going to play anything. Come to
Oh.
MCG. We'll play a game of ball. There's no point of y'all. Yeah, there's no point. That's what even Rohit Sharma lacked a point, silly point over there.
Hmm. Right. So let's also talk about the warm-up match that was supposed to happen versus India A, because that's suddenly been cancelled out of nowhere just to avoid injuries. And I don't know, that was something that
Or
was,
rather say, just to avoid loss against India A, which is a better side.
or is it because India A got cooked by Australia A? So what perspective are we looking at?
Sorry, come again.
No, no. So like, is it because you want to avoid injuries? Is it because you don't want to lose to India A, or is it because you think the warm up game is going to be pointless because India A itself lost to Australia A? So there's
No, I
multiple
think so. If we go and play a practice game, Australians will be watching with their binoculars, and how scientist Ashwin will be bowling those carom balls and off spin. So
yes.
India doesn't want to give out that secret, so they're
Yes,
canceling the
but
practice.
it still gives players like Jaiswal and Sarfaraz who haven't played in those conditions a chance to have a knock on those pitches. If not the same conditions, something close to that. They'll at least the altitude, the bounce of the pitch is going to be along the similar lines.
I think Gautam Gambhir has given a pep talk, just like
Hmm.
Ravi Shah. Game se hatao pitch. I think that's the mindset Sarfaraz and Jaiswal will be going to Australia.
Hmm. Right. Okay.
Anyway, so
So
coming back to our World Test Championship final qualification, what's the scenario? You are a better mathematician here. You know
right.
the chances, you know the
Let
probability.
me look across all the possibilities for you. The teams in contention are India, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, and Sri Lanka. India's chances of qualifying will depend on whether we beat Australia 4-0 or 4-1. Okay. But if we do that, South Africa or New Zealand would have to lose at least one. Because if South Africa and New Zealand win all their games from now, they will play each other in the finals.
Okay,
And
what's
I
the
think
scenario for India to qualify without depending on other results?
there is no, I think we might have to beat the Aussies 5-0 in Australia, which is not happening. So a more realistic option would be 4-1 or 4-0. And you never know if that's possible or not. Maybe we see a brand new version of our batters. But yeah, it is a difficult shot because you need to win four.
Is there a way both India and Australia cannot qualify to the finals?
Yes. If the series stands at 3-2 towards India. No, sorry, 4-1 to India. If the series goes 4-1 to India or 4-0 or 3-0, something along those lines, you will have South Africa and New Zealand qualifying if they win all their games. And
Mm.
if there's also another scenario where Aussies can lose 2-3, to India. And then if they still win 2-0 to Sri Lanka, they could make it. But
Mm.
again, you'll have to hope that New Zealand lose one to England. On the other side of things, if Sri Lanka win three games, okay, they have four games: two versus Australia, two versus South Africa. If they win any three of those games, then Sri Lanka automatically qualify.
without depending on other
without
results.
depending on other teams. Yes, they
That
are
would
continuing
be
this trend.
some turnaround for Sri Lankan cricket board after
That's what, yeah.
Jayasuriya.
So yeah, that's
But
those
it's
are.
good to see like four-way battle to the finals. Let's see who books that flight to London.
It's going to be
Champions
a
versus
little
jokers.
script. Tesha stopped scripting it at a small level. He's now scripting it at a WTC international level. We're going to see a bunch of teams fighting for the WTC final pretty soon.
Yeah, I think Indian cricket fans have finally started to miss Jay Shah. We miss you, Shah.
Absolutely. We miss you, Shah.
We miss the sun only when it starts to snow. Please return
No.
back. Please rig the wickets.
Alrighty then. I think that brings us to the end of the discussion. Is there anything, any last words, final statements?
Shruti says, amazing podcast. Guys, love you all. Love you too. I
Thank
miss
you,
you guys.
madam.
I don't know who you are, but we miss you too.
All right. See you lads.
Yeah,
50 minutes,
that's it.
big
That's a wrap
podcast, big
for
talk.
today. So we shall see you soon with,
Hopefully, we're more active these days.
yeah, now that we have figured how to do live streams, we'll be more active and more such banters. So see you soon.
See you, love. Bye.
Bye bye.